If that's you, you won't want to miss the chance to power even greater possibilities. Enter the AT&T Black Future Makers Contest for a chance to win $10,000 and an AT&T 5G-enabled device. You got this. Learn more at attdreaminblack.com/contest. Must be 18 and older. Other restrictions apply.
Doug.
Check it out, Limu. A roadside carnival.
Step right up, folks. Test your strength. Come see the fire-breathing baby.
Let's fan out and tell people that Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance so you only pay for what you need.
Look! An emu wearing sunglasses!
Limu, you're famous. Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Here at Better Life Children's Services, we are dedicated to providing a safe, nurturing family environment, giving children the opportunity to fulfill their dreams. You can make the difference by becoming a resource parent. Call us today at 916-641-0661. That's 916-641-0661.
I was wondering.
You want the correct answers about our That's Cheap stores? Ryan can be so stupid.
Oh, I felt like his answers were...
ridiculous? He's thinking he's the brains of the operation.
So do you have a different answer for how you keep everything so affordable?
Well, it's also just a fun outlet for us. It's part of our larger company where we have access to freight at liquidation prices.
Do you think inflation will make That's Cheap prices go up?
Well, even a blind squirrel can find a nut every now and then, and this is the one that Ryan found. Our prices will always stay low and affordable.
That's Cheap, keeping life affordable.
In the heart of the city, a hero.
Come on.
And a villain.
You won't get away this time.
Face off in a Nissan sales event ad.
Wait, what?
Starring the Nissan Rogue.
Oh, nice.
And featuring more power than a CR-V.
See ya.
You won't want to miss any of the action at the Nissan Thrill of the Drive sales event.
Right now, get 0.9% APR financing for up to 72 months on 14 models. Availability is limited, so contact your local dealer for inventory information and shop NissanUSA.com today before these offers get away.
You aren't alone. 1 in 5 of us will have a mental health issue in our lifetime. And just like other illnesses, people who get support and treatment find healing and hope. Check in with someone you're worried about. And if you're feeling pain, ask for help. There's no shame in taking care of yourself or the people you care about. Be there for someone who's hurting, even if that someone is you. Learn more at StopStigmaSacramento.org.
So, give 21st Century Insurance a call and you could save up to $378 on car insurance. Call 21st Century at 888-GET-2121 to get the car insurance coverage you need at the rates you can afford. It's time to get 21st Century savings for your 21st century life. Call 888-GET-2121 or go to 21st.com to start saving today.
Your worst cold and flu symptoms, which changes a night that sounds like this into a night that sounds more like this. Ah, that's better. NyQuil Severe. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, sore throat, stuffy head, aching, fever, best sleep with a cold medicine.
Where you can find healthy options and even healthier savings. This week, stock up on Peter Pan Natural Almond Butter. 11-ounce jars are buy one, get one free. A savings of up to 75% versus traditional grocery stores. Also, have a fun frozen treat with kind frozen desserts. Assorted pints are buy one, get one free. That's only $1 each when you buy 2. A savings of up to 82%. Offers good through March 8th.
Grocery Outlet Bargain Market. That's up to $8,000 back in your pocket. If your household made less than $65,000 in 2021, you can file your taxes online for free through United Way's free tax prep program. Our website, yourfreetaxprep.org, will guide you through filing and help you apply for credits, including EITC and Cal EITC. If you need help filing, sign up for one of our virtual workshops or virtual one-on-one help. Visit yourfreetaxprep.org to get started today.
iHeart-Radio is honoring women who are shattering stereotypes with their accomplishments, creating opportunities, and inspiring generations to find their own voice and share it with the world.
Listen as women take the mic throughout the day.
At 5 p.m., it's an hour's worth of music exclusively from female artists.
And at 8 p.m., join us for our 2nd annual iHeart-Radio See Her, Hear Her, celebrating women who make music and culture.
Featuring Alicia Keys, Maren Morris, Avril Lavigne, and more
on iHeartRadio's YouTube and Facebook.
Families, visit rescue.org to learn how you can help.
Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts for the power, performance, and reliability of a new Super Start battery. Visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
This is your moment. Take it. Paid family leave can provide new fathers up to 8 weeks of partial wage replacement to bond with your new baby. To learn more, visit CaliforniaPaidFamilyLeave.com. Moments matter.
Ready to break free, Sacramento? Book your 2022 cruise today with Norwegian and enjoy 35% off all cruises to Alaska, Europe, and more. We'll even help you get there with free airfare for second guests. Plus, enjoy free open bar, free specialty dining, and more. Visit ncl.com, call your travel advisor, or 1-888-NCL-CRUISE. Offer ends soon. Norwegian Cruise Line. Sail safe, feel free. Ships registry the Bahamas and USA. Restrictions apply.
And explosions of life make allergies really zing. Each sniffle and swipe can be a moment of dread, as ordinary tissues make noses angry and red. So keep Puffs by your side to soften all your blows. With Air Puff Magic, they'll cushion your nose. Especially during allergy season, a nose in need deserves Puffs indeed.
And with everything you've got going on at home, you need internet that can keep up. Enter gig speed Wi-Fi from Xfinity.
You get Wi-Fi speeds faster than a gig. That's strong enough to power a whole house full of devices all at once. So whether you're streaming, gaming, or even working from home, Xfinity has the speed you need. Can your internet do that?
Now, through March 7th, ask how to get the special offer, $200 back when you get gig speed internet, or get started with Xfinity internet for $19.99 a month for 12 months with a 1-year contract. Just go to Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today.
Brought in this monster truck. And to tell you Cricket 5G is available on every plan at no extra charge, we brought in this fleet of monster trucks. Now that's power! Get powerful nationwide 5G on all plans at no extra charge. Plus a Cricket Dream 5G phone free when you switch. Tastes like power too. Smile, you're on Cricket.
Must bring your number to Cricket on a $60 a month plan. First month service charge and tax due at sale. Cricket 5G is not available everywhere. Fees, terms, and other restrictions apply. See cricketwireless.com for details.
Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car at work or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-508-9095. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS, and there is zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have a 5-star rating on Google and Yelp, and an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today and call 800-508-9095. Again, that's 800-508-9095.
Comcast's Internet Essentials program has connected 10 million people from low-income families to high-speed internet for less than $10 a month. But Americans need laptops, tablets, and digital skills too. Through Project Up, we're committing $1 billion over the next 10 years to reach 50 million people with the tools they need to build a future of unlimited possibilities. Learn more at Comcast.com/projectup.
This is a hot-flying flavor combination of our Texas tenders and shrimp meal today. It's butterfly shrimp alongside made-from-scratch Texas tenders. Served spicy or original for $6. Churches, welcome to the great state of flavor.
Then the IRS came to collect.
Started getting letter after letter. A lien had been filed against me. They were going to basically hang me completely out to dry.
He had to do something.
That's when I reached out to Optima Tax Relief.
Patrick's life quickly got a lot easier.
It was very easy, pretty much hands off. They picked up the ball and ran with it.
And how'd it go?
I couldn't believe it. I had to ask 2 or 3 times. I saved an incredible amount of money.
How does Patrick feel about Optima?
Couldn't be happier. They definitely helped me. Optima Tax Relief, the best place to call. They're the best in the business.
Do what Patrick did and call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-375-2922. 800-375-2922. 800-375-2922.
Optima Tax Relief.
During times when they really can't speak.
Mm-hmm.
She says her gums are irritated.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything you can do?
Absolutely. You can try new Crest Advanced Gum Restore. Yep, new Crest Advanced Gum Restore. It detoxifies below the gum line to restore your gums back to health in just 7 days.
Healthy mouth.
Exactly. Healthy gums, healthy mouth.
New Crest Advanced Gum Restore. Healthy, beautiful smiles for life.
Rewards which you can put toward an extra treat that everyone will enjoy, like an old-fashioned popcorn machine. Visit bankofamerica.com/more rewarding and apply now.
There's only one place to go, the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event. With new cars arriving daily, it's time to get in and get away. Now, get 0% APR for up to 48 months, plus 0 payments for 90 days on select Hyundai vehicles. See your local Hyundai dealer today. Visit buyhyundai.com to find the dealer nearest you. For well-qualified buyers only. Offer ends 3/31/22. Call 1-562-314-4603 for complete offer details.
Let's get ready to rumble! Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton of Big C Sports. This is Charlton of Big C Sports. Coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe. According to me, if you love sports, and that's good enough for me, I want to say, Raudo Deportes, bonjour, I love saying welcome to the show. Today's a beautiful March the 3rd, 2022. Today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, just tell them Charlton of Big C Sports sent you. And all around the universe, you can follow Big C Sports Podcast on 23 multiple podcast applications from Google, Alexa, Spotify, Speaker Podcast, Apple Podcast, iHeart-Radio Podcast, Castbox Podcast, Deezer Podcast, Podcast Addict, and then Podchaser. Give me some praise. I got the 10. If you think it's easy, you try it. Count the 10 under pressure. You can also follow Big C Sports Podcast on GeoSavan Podcast out of London, England, Podtail, YouTube, Hubhopper, Stitcher Podcast, Radio Line, Repod Podcast, Luminary Podcast, Listen Notes, Podcast Wise, Podbay, Verbal Podcast, and the one that scares me is allfeeds.ai. The computers are coming to give me some praise. If the computers take over, we're all in trouble. All fan level war. You can also follow Big C Sports Podcast, streaming all around the universe on 4 TV platforms: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of Fire TVs all over the universe. Really do appreciate that with Big C Sports. What a beautiful, beautiful day in the neighborhood. I want to say, paying homage to my family legacy, as I love doing for every single show with Big C Sports Podcast. On my mother's side, the matriarch of the family, called her Mama, my great-grandmother, a beautiful, smart, intelligent, lovely woman, always did what it took to keep the family strong and made sure we had food in our belly, and every now and then, boy, go get me a switch. Still looking for those switches. And then my great-grandfather, the patriarch of the family on my mother's side, former Negro League baseball player, also very connected with the church and known by his church friends as making the best moonshine in the universe. And for saying, boys, get out of that bar. How many times I gotta tell you, get out of that bar? Lightning strikes. We'll put water from the water hose in his moonshine, and he could always tell the difference. Just a really smart, loving man. Really do appreciate him. And then my grandmother, Muddia, a wonderful, beautiful, hardworking person, a seer, very intelligent, can look at people and tell you what's happened in their past, their present, and also their future. Still says things to me to this day, if that makes sense to you. Also, my grandfather, Hezekiah, another wonderful person that can tell you a lot of things that are going on in the future. And then I love paying homage to my mother, the most beautiful mother in the history of the universe. Come on, started a Head Start program, a food program, and then helped the Little League baseball team win the Little League championship of the universe. I want to say, give Mama some praise. I said, give Mama praise, praise, praise. Come on. A Head Start program, a food program, and win the Little League championship of the universe. Isn't that amazing? Always saying rise and shine. Really do appreciate that. And then on my father's side, the patriarch of the family, my grandfather, Albert Curry, a former pastor, had 2 churches in Oakland, California, built the 3rd one in Central California. Very smart man, had 2 service stations that he owned also in Oakland, California. And then side by side with him was my grandmother, Alberta Curry, who was working with him side by side with the churches in Oakland, also building the 3rd one in Central California and helping with the service stations in Oakland. Really do appreciate the intelligence of her working to keep the family strong. And then my father, former retired Air Force fighter pilot, chief mechanic, making sure planes can fly high so we can all stay safe at night. Always saying develop your mind to its highest extent. Really do appreciate that. And then my beautiful brother Todd, Sound Like Thunder and Lightning when Todd was speaking. I always say our favorite movie was Scarface. But some people thought it was too violent. Let me tell you, Pulp Fiction. And one of the favorite scenes from Pulp Fiction, we've seen it about 50 times, is when Vin Rames told Bruce Willis before the boxing match, your butt goes down in the 4th round. Say that, Blip. And he said, that stinking sensation that you're feeling, that's pride flubbing with you. Well, flub pride. I get it, I said it. I've always wanted not to get a flag. But he said, flub pride. Say that when somebody makes me upset, it works. And then my beautiful daughter, Daisy, the most beautiful daughter in the history of the universe. A college student, graduated with 2 degrees in 3.5 years from a major university. Helped me set up the first interview with Big C Sports back at Salem Media. And just really, I do appreciate Daisy. Very smart. Also would help me set up when coaches would come to the West Coast and do work with Big C Sports. Really do appreciate Daisy. And then my beautiful son, my handsome son, Malcolm, the most handsome son in the history of the universe. Love what Malcolm's a young, smart, intelligent college student, a sophomore in college. Always tell Malcolm, Wakanda forever. Never let anyone come between you and your family. A hardworking, industrious kid. Malcolm knows a lot about NBA stats. Oftentimes sends me stats all over the NBA, knows it inside and out. Really do appreciate him. And then Big C, with all of the knowledge that he's had over the years, always saying, you gotta believe, you gotta believe, you gotta believe. I want to give everybody some praise. Give everybody praise that's helped so into the Big C Sports Podcast. Really do appreciate that. And I tell you, I know some boxers, they stole this promotion. My grandfather used to do it after he came from church with his friends. He would always say, let's get ready to rumble! Oh, Lord have mercy. Sometimes it brings back memories. Let's get ready to rumble. Big C Sports Podcast. No scripts, no 3-way teleprompters, no producer in my ear. My show is fresh daily, like the Big C cup of coffee that you drink. The best part of waking up, a lot of people have said, is Big C in your cup. Well, it could be any kind of coffee, but I said Big C coffee because it comes in one size, and that's called extra large. You ever have someone say, who in the plump drank all the coffee? Maybe I've gotta be careful on my buzzwords, but it's always good. And then I always honor God. I think I'm one of the only sports shows in the universe that does that. And I really mean that too. A lot of more people are starting to do it now. I always walk by faith and not by sight, if that makes sense to you. I produce the show. I direct the topics. I broadcast the shows. All of the sound effects are provided by the agency. We can all use more laughter in our lives, especially in times like this with Russia and the Ukraine. And then the commercials are done, stats provided, storytelling. And tonight, maybe the Warriors will get back on track. Steph Curry for 3! I don't know if they'll cheer more down in Dallas, but hopefully they'll get their groove back tonight. I got to get those media passes for the playoffs. The world, you know, it's all fair and level war. I think the Kings are not going to make it this year. I thought they would, but Golden State definitely will. And then I upload the show to the platform. It goes out to 23 multiple podcast platforms all over the world, and then 4 TV platforms that carry out Big C Sports Podcast. And I never missed a show since Big C Sports started September 12th, 2015. I really say I'm the only sports show. I might be wrong, but I'm the only sports show in the universe that consistently honors God. When I grew up in the church, so I oftentimes heard the scripture of Genesis in 13 verse 15, where it says, for all the land that thou seest will I give you, and thy seed forever. In the book of James, chapter 4, verse 2, said, ye have not because you ask not. If you want something, just ask. And so I'm going to keep asking and asking and asking and keep asking some praise. When you do believe, giving things praise. I love what's happening with Big C Sports Podcast, streaming on TV and on podcast. And I'm one person that walks and talks by faith and not by sight. And just to prove to some young people that all of this is happening because I rise and shine every day, and I always will with the help of God. I also want to say thank you to Xfinity Comcast TV and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe, just like in Genesis 1:3. where God said, let there be light. Open your cell phone or electronic devices anywhere in the world and say, play Big C Sports Podcast, and you will see the show or hear the show pop up on all the medias that I've talked about. Really do appreciate that. Also had a lot of good news today about one of my funding partners. I'm just so excited about things that are happening. I'm looking at what I want people to Google. Google Forbes magazine, the top sports agents, and you'll see how they created over $41.2 billion in contracts. Isn't that something? And Big C Sports is being recruited into that industry because of all of my knowledge over the years by one of the top sports agents in the United States, African American, really trying to make the Black Wall Street come to fruition. Stop begging anybody for anything. You just got to know who's on your team. And if a guy's at the top of your team, then you can't fail. It doesn't matter who's on your team or not, as long as you have God in your life. But the top sports agents, I'm telling you, a lot of great things will happen, and have some good news about that today. If you look at some of the top sports agents, you'll see them at the NFL Combine up in Indianapolis. They have some stuff to talk about with the NFL Combine. But the commissions generated by these agents generated nearly $2 billion in commissions. And that's in 1 year. That's amazing. And to be told that, Charlton, you got what it takes to do this. You can do all the podcasts and broadcasting you want to do. You can talk to the networks about giving you an opportunity to be on the air. And oftentimes they will pay a few $1 million for a contract. But as sports marketing agents, there's a lot of them that are making a lot of money. And they're doing something that they love, which is signing the contract. Oftentimes, as I tell young Black Americans, going around the NFL and begging people for a job. Come on, man, I put in all the qualifications. I have the qualifications. I've been an offensive coordinator. I've been a defensive coordinator. I played the game, man. I just want a chance at a job. Okay, enough of that crap. You can do that if you want to. Maybe you get a job for 2 or 3 years. You can even get fired with a winning record. Maybe they pay you $3 million a year. But sports agents, when you think about it, you can sign more than one player. And when you think of the commissions that the NFL is paying, they allow 3% of what the agent makes, of what the athlete makes, 3%. That's a lot of money. A lot of money. Imagine signing someone to $100 million. Your commission is $3 million. What if you had 10 of those guys? That's explained to me, Charlton. That's $30 million in a year. I've always said that Big C Sports, I'm following Bob Johnson. I'm going to build it. If my dreams come true and they're starting to happen, I'm going to build Big C Sports into $1 billion enterprise. Bob Johnson with BET Entertainment started out with Bob Johnson. They had the other merchandising they had, but then the TV platform, he didn't have podcasts. He just started the BET platform way back in the day. He sold it for over $1 billion. But when you understand factoring, when you have $100 million in contracts, if you understand factoring to a bank, that's $10 billion. That's $1 billion. $100 million is worth $1 billion to a bank in factoring. And I just told you, there are sports agents that wrote over $41.2 billion in contracts. Isn't that something? And so I just had some good information about that today. Really do appreciate that. And no matter what people think, if you want something, it's going to be occupied by more and more black men, because the athletes, for the most part, in the NFL and NBA, they're African Americans. And most of the guys who go in to sign them are Caucasian. And that's like the only time you'll see them. I believe in equality for everybody, but not everybody thinks that way. One of the only times you'll see these guys is when they come around and say, hey, man, why don't you sign with my agency? I'll make you rich. And that's the only time you'll see them. Outside of that, you won't see them. It's just a fact. They're not inviting you in. They're trying to keep you out. Hey, brother, how you doing, brother? That kind of stuff. But getting the certification, which I'm doing, I'm not saying it's easy, but it's possible. I eat, sleep, drink, and live sports. I love it. I've been that way all my life when my mother started sending me papers to see what was going on in sports. But I just know the business is growing, and the NFL draft for last year, of the 10 top drafted athletes, 5 of them had African-American representation. Because it's growing, you just don't hear about it as much. Mainstream will keep telling you, oh, they won't give black men a job. They won't even let them interview. Well, we're all being bamboozled and hoodwinked. Would you rather be like the top NFL agent, Mogaleta, who controls over $4 billion in contracts, or a guy trying to get a $3 million job? I want to say thank you to the California Lottery for all their involvement in Powerball, Mega Millions, Super Lotto. And I keep saying you got to say it first. You speak things that be not as though they were. I'm going to win that lottery. I keep feeling it. Something's itching in my pants. I don't know what it is in my backside. Flop the backside. Not every itch is bad. Unless you don't have to, as long as you don't have to scratch too much. Not every itch is bad. But Coach Mariucci, he did a story in the NFL playoffs, and he had, if you do have an itch, don't ignore it. Okay, but I'm talking about the lottery. But if the NFL playoffs, Coach Mariucci, former coach of the 49ers, oh, Lord have mercy, he did a PSA on people that gamble too much. And he gave out a message for people who need help. Sometimes people are addicted. Well, it's called 800-GAMBLER. That's 800-GAMBLER. That's 800-GAMBLER. You can reach out and get some help. We all know, or most of us know, that in 2018, the Supreme Court thought it was so important that they put ink to pen on it. They made betting legal in most states in the United States. Isn't that something? Before they signed the Voting Rights Act. Oh, Lord have mercy. And now you have in Major League Baseball on strike. Strike 3, you're out. But Major League Baseball, in the NBA, I think the NFL too, but I'm not sure, there are lobbying states to cash in on taking money out of your pocket. Sports betting. And there are billions of dollars being wagered at new legal sports books across the United States of America, even before the Voting Rights Act is passed. That should happen this year. But when you think about it, with every state now available to offer sports betting, and professional sports owners are among the big winners, you wonder why Major League Baseball can hold out on having an agreement. Maybe the players are greedy too, but they know people are going to bet anyway. Does that make sense to you? But like Coach Mariucci, now he's with the NFL Network, said, if you know anyone going through issues, 800-GAMBLER, that's 800-GAMBLER. Also very happy, and I met another veteran today. I didn't even know he was a veteran until he told me. And I want to say the Veterans Crisis Hotline, they are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help, and they will stand on their head to get you some help. If you know any veterans going through issues, I have a family full of veterans. My father in the Air Force, brother in the Army, and then a nephew that fought in the Marines, and grandparents also served this country. You can go online to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. And get our veterans some help. They all need help, and give them some praise, because our first responders do a lot to make sure people have everything they need. I also want to say thank you to Budweiser Zero. It has 0% alcohol, 100% honest game. Sports fans, when you're watching the big game, you want to eat a Big C burger. It's a tasty burger, and it comes with, what's all this exotic meats? It tastes better in your mouth than it does in your head. And also the Big C coffee. Why does the cup gotta be so big? You don't want a small cup of coffee? No. People want a big cup of coffee. If it's too much, take the rest and pour it in a smaller cup and have it for the next day, if that makes sense to you. Also, I'm just hoping, the Big C cookie coming soon. Why does the cookie have to be so big? Anyone ever give you a big cookie? You gotta hold them in two hands. No one wants a small cookie. All fair in Love and War. It's all fair in Love and War. I'm gonna take what's called the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. And when I come back, I'm gonna talk more about what's going on in sports, in the words of former California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger and the Terminator. I'll be back. All right, we're back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 23 podcast applications all over the universe, and streaming on 4 TV applications. Really do appreciate that. We have a beautiful schedule for NBA basketball. It's not the biggest schedule, but there's a couple of really big games I want to see. We have Chicago at Atlanta, and that game, of course, already underway. And then there's a really big game up in Boston, and you have the Memphis Grizzlies and the Boston Celtics. Both teams are really rising as far as Memphis making a big climb in the Western Conference. And Boston, they're trying to get their groove back over in the Eastern Conference too. So that's a really good markup. Jason Tatum and John Morant want to see those good boys doing their thing. The Miami Heat, what a game they had last night. They got snuck up on by the defending NBA champion Milwaukee Bucks. Now they're back in action in Brooklyn at the Barclays Centers, and Kevin Durant is back in action, so he'll be getting his groove on, see if he can drop 30 on the good old boys Heat. I was saying, how do you cook a buck? And you say you got to turn the heat up really high. And to see Milwaukee come back and nip the Miami Heat last night, it's like a buck getting up off the grill. They get up off the grill, and they showed that if you're going to get away from the grill enough, you can get up off of it. And the Bucks got up off the grill last night, got the win over Miami. And now Detroit, they're in Canada taking on the Toronto Raptors. The Detroit Bad Boys taking on the Toronto Raptors. The game that I really want to see is the Golden State Warriors at the Dallas Mavericks, because I still have Golden State my number 2 team, and that's because they don't have Draymond Green back. So even if they fall tonight, I think they'll be better when they get the whole alignment of players back in. Even Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, and Steph Curry, they've yet to play together. And once they get them all back, and they should be closer by the end of this month, they'll be ready to make their playoff run. But I want to see Golden State at Dallas. Can they get revenge? They were up by 21 on Dallas at the Chase Center in downtown San Francisco just last week. And Dallas came back and got a win. And then Dallas went to L.A. and got a win. So we'll see what happens if Golden State goes back into Dallas and gets a win down there. The Sacramento Kings at the San Antonio Spurs. And they know that the San Antonio, they don't try to stop you from dunking on them. So maybe the Kings will get a win down in the heart of Texas in San Antonio. And then the biggest game at the Crypto.com Arena would be Los Angeles taking on Los Angeles. And I can guarantee that Los Angeles will win. Of course they're going to win. But who will it be? The Clippers have not lost to the Lakers this year. I think the Lakers are due. That game tips off at 7 o'clock p.m. tonight on TNT. I'm going to say the Lakers get that win, even though not many people are counting them in. But if Las Vegas would do better with people betting on the Clippers and the Lakers come out and pull that upset, it's all fair 11 war. So we'll see what happens with that. No matter what you're saying, I want to say give the NBA some praise because they're playing their game, and Major League Baseball is not. They're still saying we don't want to play yet. We don't have enough money in our bank account. All fair 11 war. I want to touch on something with Major League Baseball because we should have spring training right now. But we don't have spring training. And I know the baseball players, and they want to make sure they get everything. The Players Association, Major League Baseball felt that they were giving some money, giving more money to make it better for the fans and the players, the rookies. But when you hear Major League Baseball has, in my opinion, the best contract in sports. In the United States, outside of some of the soccer players, they can make a lot more money if you're Cristiano Ronaldo, but that's not the United States. But in the United States, and when you hear baseball players, Mike Trout's coming out saying, I want to play, and they're all mad at Major League Baseball and the commissioner for not coming through and not making things happen. It's not Manfred's fault. I think sometimes players don't realize how good they have it. We just came through a pandemic where people couldn't work. Businesses were closed. Some went out of business. And now you have baseball. They couldn't have fans in the stadiums because of COVID. And then they started allowing some fans to come in. And then baseball players have made so much money, I think they've gotten too big for their britches. And that's just my opinion. Everybody wants more money. But when you hear players like Max Scherzer, who makes $43,333,333 in a year for playing baseball. He's now a pitcher with the New York Mets. He was with the Dodgers last year. Didn't help them win the World Series. He's 37 years old, making $43 million a year. And he's complaining that Major League Baseball got it wrong? What about the concession workers? What about the people who work for tips, the service industry outside of many baseball ballparks? Because baseball is trying to play hardball, no pun intended, the players are, thinking the owners got to give up more money. Because you can't make it on $43 million a year. And then you have Mike Trout, who's never won a World Series, doesn't even make the playoffs with the LA Angels. He's not willing to negotiate his contract to help them win better. Neither is Scherzer. But Scherzer's won, so he can brag he's helped win a World Series before. So at least he has that. But Mike Trout, he's 30 years old. He's a left fielder. He makes $37 million a year. And he's coming out blaming Manfred that they put a pause on Major League Baseball. And all they're saying is they're trying to give the players more money than they were getting last year and try to make it a better deal for the newcomers. And some of the older guys are not willing to give up some of their salary to help the younger players in their organizations. They're not trying to say, hey, $37 million a lot. I thank God for the money, or thanks his agent for the money. But, I could actually make it on $30 million. Mike Trout's not going to do that. Anthony Rendon for the Los Angeles Angels. These guys don't even make the playoffs. They're complaining. He makes $36 million a year. $36.5 million. And more power to him. But these guys could come up off of their butts and defray some of that money down the road and help out some of the younger players, the rookies in the league. They're trying to increase the minimum salary in baseball to over $700,000. Right now it's over $500,000. That's what Major League Baseball is doing. And the NFL, the Major League Baseball Players Association, they said no, it's not enough. Jacob deGrom. Think about him. $36 million a year. He's 34 years old. And when's the last time the Mets made the playoffs? He's not trying to give up more money to help the young people the way Major League Baseball is. He's a starting pitcher. The great Garrett Cole, making $36 million a year. He's 31 years old. You don't think he can live on $36 million? One of these guys going to their organization saying, we don't need this much money up front, just defray it so we can help the younger players that we're trying to strike for and go on pause for and not agree for so they can get more money. Steven Strasberg for Washington. 33 years old, makes $35 million a year. You know what the story's about Trevor Bauer with the Dodgers making $35 million? He got off scot-free after some embarrassment. Nolan Arenado, 31 years old, makes $35 million a year. Not knocking any of these players. If you can get that money, get it. But when you hear these guys, hardly any fans that go to these games are making $35 million or $30 million a year. And baseball is just trying to figure out a way to get the younger guys more money and benefits and help the fans too by lowering some of the ticket prices. Baseball owners have their money. They're billionaires. And now they've opened up because of the Supreme Court and all the lobbyists for the Major League Sports. They lobbied the Supreme Court to get gaming legal in most states. So they know people are betting on sports. Francisco Lindor, look at that, 28 years old, $34 million for the Mets. Corey Seager for the Texans, a shortstop, 28 years old, $33 million. Manny Machado's probably be better than all of them. Third baseman for the Padres, San Diego Padres, make $32 million. And he's must-see TV. You got Jose Altuve, 32 years old, making $29 million. People can make all the money their agents can help them get. Nothing wrong with that. But when I hear some of these $30+ million a year players saying that they blame Major League Baseball because they're not willing to give in more. And you know who's missing out? The fans. Why are the fans missing out? Because runners on first and third that counts for the pitch. Swung on, hit deep. Right field, back to the wall. Foul ball. It's a foul ball because the players with the clout are not willing to give up some money down there just to free it. No one's saying don't make your $35 million or your $40 million. Just have a lot of that defrayed down the road So maybe the owners can come up and pay those younger players the more money that you want them to get. Because not everybody's making that kind of money. But that would be a step in the right direction. Let the players come up. I mean, some of these guys could give up $2 or $3 million a year. They're not going to end up broke. They just won't. But they're also so greedy that they're willing to destroy the whole game and then blame football for it. Or not football, but blame the commissioner for it. Manfred's not making all the decisions on his own. Obviously, he looks bad because he is the commissioner. And baseball, whether you want to call it a strike or delayed, it's on strike right now. They're striking themselves out. And it's a shame because there's so many more industries that benefit when games are in town and the stadiums have people coming in buying the $10 hot dogs and the $15 beers or whatever they're selling them for. And the tips that people get on the restaurants outside of the stadiums, they're not getting that right now. So baseball right now, to have some of the highest paid players coming out saying, we don't like the deal they're trying to do. They're not playing fair. These are billionaires. They can give up more money. Well, so can you give up more money. And especially guys that don't even make the playoffs. Playoffs? Yeah, I'm talking playoffs. Everybody wants somebody else to give up more money. Get all you want. Just defray it. You know who defrayed a lot of money that has a lot of championships? Tom Brady did that. Here's a guy that has 7 Super Bowl championships, 6 with the Patriots, 1 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And that good old boy, before he signs with the 49ers this year, he defrayed a lot of his money down the road. He didn't keep all of that money. He didn't say, hey, make me the highest paid quarterback in the NFL because I have more championships than any other quarterback. And if you don't give me the money, flop you, man. He didn't do that. Maybe he did in private. You don't know what he told Bob Kraft. Flop you, man. I'm going to Tampa. Ain't going to win me a championship. But people, they defray the money down the road. They don't let the whole league go on strike. Some of these players have made more money in one season than many people will make in 10 lifetimes. You know, they're fans. And some of the players are going, well, the fans are suffering. I feel bad that the fans can't come to a ballpark and let their family members and friends sit down and enjoy a game and a $10 beer and a $12 hot dog, throwing in the chips. And so some of these guys are so jaded. If you're going to have anyone saying we're disappointed that the league didn't come to an agreement with the players, with the unions, let that be the guys who are nearly broke. You know, the guys who are broke in baseball, the guys who make $500,000 a year, that's considered broke in baseball. And they're saying to the very wealthy guys, maybe defray some of that money down the road and we can all eat. Would that make more sense to you? Makes sense to me, but hey, it's all fair and level war. If you got $30 million coming a year for playing baseball, and then more power to you, and I guess that's why they're on strike. And give that some praise for being on strike. You're destroying your own game. I'm going to take what's called the Big C pause, and I'll be back in just a moment. All right, we're back for the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 23 podcast applications all over the universe. Really do appreciate that on a beautiful March the 3rd. The NFL said enough for the COVID testing last year, or you could say this year, for Super Bowl 56 down in Los Angeles. They stopped COVID testing players. They didn't want to have anyone test positive and not be able to play in the Super Bowl. So the NFL's fight against COVID-19 has come to an end as the states are starting to lift their mask mandate. The announcement came as teams are right now at the Combine. The decision was reached in conjunction with the NFL's Players Association, coming weeks after prospective draft picks and a handful of agents, they threatened to boycott the annual scouting combine over a forced COVID-19 bubble. So the threat worked, and that would have separated players from key advisors during the events. And following the threat to bypass the combine, the NFL sent a memo eliminating the bubble restrictions while stating that the league was continuing to evolve policies in accordance to medical guidance. Now, I believe still in some buildings you still have to wear a mask. I guess it depends on the industry, but based on current encouraging trends, based on medical industry regarding the prevalence of COVID-19 and how it's declining in many states, that the evolving guidance from the CDC, it changes to state laws, and council of a prospective experts in the NFL and the NFLPA have agreed to suspend all aspects of the joint COVID-19 protocol, and that's effective immediately, so they could get all their athletes into the combine, and they've done that. So whatever it was, there was a third major alteration to the league's COVID policies in the past 10 weeks. The first was the elimination of weekly testing for vaccinated and asymptomatic players in mid-December. So that's right around the start of getting ready for that playoff run. And the second was the elimination of daily testing for unvaccinated players, making them subject to screening only if they reported having symptoms to their teams. And then both of the steps were also agreed upon by the NFLPA, which was faced a lot of pressure coming from players to entirely eliminate COVID testing from the league. And then came February, when a lot of prospective draft picks and agents threatened to pull out of the combines if a COVID-19 bubble was instituted. It doesn't mean that people don't test positive for COVID-19. It just means that we feel like, based on the CDC, we're starting to round that curve, unlike baseball deciding to just go on a strike as they're starting to lift the mask mandates. Baseball says we still want to keep our fans away, and so they don't want to come to an agreement. So in the middle of what became the league's really a lot of fog around the cloud issue of COVID-19, testing policies, the NFL also eliminated random spot testing, shifting entirely to self-reporting. You're going to self-report your own drug test or your positive test? They should have done, basically baseball should have done that, self-reporting if you test positive for steroids. What if you can self-report if you test positive for steroids? Come on. The result was a dramatic reduction in reported positive tests during the playoffs, which was suggested that either the league had suddenly beaten COVID-19 or that people were not even taking the test. They were just saying you're on your own. And I'm not saying it's about politics. It's about people with clout knowing that they can get away with saying, hey, we don't want to show up if you're going to keep enforcing safety protocols, we're not going to show up. So the NFL decided to bend to that. Whether you agree with that or not, you just got to be aware of your own health. If you know you're having some issues, then get some help with that. That's the most important thing. And I know everybody has their own thoughts about that. I do want to go to the NFL. The NFL is amazing. The NFL Combine, I don't know why they're not having this Combine in beautiful Los Angeles. I know they have it in Indianapolis, but what's the point of going to Indianapolis when you can have Los Angeles as a backdrop? That's just my opinion. Indianapolis this time of year or Los Angeles this time of year. All's fair in love and war. But when you look at some of the speed among the workouts conducted at the NFL, the Combine, the 40-yard dash has always been something that people use to measure speed and how fast a player was going to work to help their team win. Since 2003, 14 participants have clocked official 40 times of below 4.3 seconds. Isn't that amazing? When I was in college, the fastest time I ever ran was a 4.5. And that was many, many moons ago. They have guys running under 4.3 now. Isn't that something? It's a lot faster than you think it is to have players that can pick it up and lay it down that amount of times. And now players seem to be bigger and stronger and faster. I think about the times we heard about prime time Deion Sanders, one of the speedier guys in the NFL, and Billy White Shoes Johnson. There's always players that can just kind of run out of the shoes, if that makes sense to you. But there's a player by the name of Danny Gray, an SMU wide receiver, and in his combine, that good boy was blazing. The top candidate to run the fastest 40-yard dash time this week, and you think about how fast he ran. He's been tracking in the 4.2s during the combine. That's like, what was it, Bugs Bunny and Roadrunner? He run by and it's like lightning was running by. When you run 4.2 in the combine, that's picking it up and laid it down. He does have a track background, and he took home the Texas Class 3A state title in the 100-meter dash back in 2017 down in Texas. But running 4.2 is absolutely amazing. I don't remember how fast Deion Sanders ran. There's also a kid at Baylor. He's a cornerback by the name of Kalon Barnes. That good a boy is set to run on Sunday, and he's expected to run in the high 4.2s. Isn't that something like a 4.29? Or some people say in the high 4.3s? It's amazing. He's a favorite among several people when asked about who's going to run the fastest 40-yard dash time. It's really important to wide receivers and running backs and defensive backs to do that. But he's the holder of the Texas State high school record in the 100-meter dash, run a 10.22 seconds. Also, the track team at Baylor winning the 100 in 2019, and then the USC Trojan Invitational with a time of 4.34. And his speed shows up on tape. Just because you're fast doesn't mean you can catch the ball. But the guy obviously has a lot of speed skill. And there's another player. His name is, you don't hear about him much because he didn't play at a Power 5. Tariq Woolen out of Texas San Antonio. He's a cornerback. Guys that can cover the fast guys. And his combine is going to be on Sunday, March the 6th. He has the guy has a size. He's 6'3", 205 pounds, big-time athleticism. And that good a boy, he's been timed at 4.34 in the 40-yard dash. See if Cooper Kupp can beat him deep. Also went to the Senior Bowl and posted the fastest speed ever recorded at the event at 22.45 miles per hour. He's another candidate that's going to run under 4.3 on Sunday. And when you think about the speed of these players, it doesn't mean that you're going to be a good football player. But it does mean they can do their thing. Another player that a lot of people saw playing at Penn State in the Big Ten is Jonah Dotson. He's a wide receiver at Penn State. Now, he's testing today, and he's a fast, smooth wideout who can get up and down the field, and he's routinely run times in the mid to low 4.3s during training, and he's probably, again, because he played in the Big Ten Conference against competition like the Ohio States and the Michigans and the Wisconsins of the world, that he's seen some of the top cornerbacks also that he was going to have to go up against when they get onto the NFL. It's just amazing how fast these players are, because you have runners that are about 200 pounds. It's not as if these guys are running around 175 pounds running that fast. I think when you look at Hill for Kansas City, I remember he had that catch and run against the Buffalo Bills in the playoff game with the overtime game, and he caught the ball and just ran away from everybody. Now, rumor has it he runs right around the 4.3s, and he's considered maybe the fastest guy in the NFL. If you can run in the 4.3s, you consider the fastest guy in the NFL, but he also knows how to make plays too. So just because you're fast, it doesn't mean that you're going to be NFL fast. For example, Deebo Samuel runs about a 4.4 for the 49ers. When you get the ball in his hand, he's hard to bring down. There are guys that can run in the 4.3s, but they're not as good, and it's difficult to bring down as a Deebo Samuel. So it's not always about how fast someone is. It's about, are you football fast? And everybody has that. So it's amazing to me when you see these players. A lot of these football players, they went out and they ran track to work in their speed and to work on their agility. And because they're so good at track, they learn to lift weights and learn to run fast and keep the speed and that combustion. They call it fast twitch muscle that helped them also play in the NFL or play happily at the college level. There's a receiver also out of Memphis, a wide receiver, Calvin Austin III, and that good a boy can do his thing too. He's a track star in both high school and at Memphis. Now, he has a 4.3 second 40-yard dash time, which is really impressive, because the best receiver to ever play in the NFL, some people think Randy Moss. I would still say Jerry Rice when you look at the touchdowns. Jerry Rice was not a 4.3 guy. He probably ran about 4.6, maybe 4.55. But sometimes players can add on. But he wasn't the fastest guy in the league, but he had more touchdowns than anybody in the NFL. So it's not always how fast you run. It's about how do you make up speed in running between defensive backs. And just because you run a 4-2 or a 4-3, it doesn't mean that you're willing to run over the middle and take a hit from a defensive back. So that matters too. But we know speed is big time, and every team is looking to get bigger, stronger, and faster. Oftentimes, if you're a lineman, people say, hey, man, how much do you bench? And linemen can put down on the workout, they'll bench 225 pounds, maybe 30 times, or sometimes 25 to 35 times, depends. So they're not asking a lineman that's 6'5", 290 pounds, how fast you run the 40. Even though they do, they're more concerned with how much this guy can bench press, because you're taking on big, strong men every time the ball is snapped. Even though they want speed too, nobody's asking the receiver if you can bench press 400 pounds. They're asking receivers, can you run the 40 in 4.3 or 4.4? Not can you bench press 405 pounds. They're not asking big linemen if you run the 40 in 4.3 or 4.4. They're asking, can you bench 400 to 500 pounds? So it's different for different guys. If you can get it all, that's great. But it's all fair in love and war. And so everybody has this thought about who's fast and what can speed do for you. Just think about Tyreek Hill when he caught that pass from Patrick Mahomes and took it to the house, and they beat the Buffalo Bills in the NFL playoffs. And then for some reason they didn't show up in the second half against the Cincinnati Bengals. But football is amazing. I love the combine. I don't know why they don't bring it out to Los Angeles. Indianapolis is, what's there to do in Indianapolis compared to being in Los Angeles? Or maybe have it down in Las Vegas now. That would be a better place for them to bring it. But that's just my opinion. They also have some NFL combine and highlights the quarterback drills, the throwing drills, or that they pulling that up too. Sam Howell is in the group, most noteworthy name in the group. Some people feel that he is. Also, Arkansas, Treylon Burks has a conversation to be the wide receiver number 1 in the 2022 NFL draft. Runs a 4.55 in the first try at the 40-yard dash. Not blazing speed now, but it was 20 years ago. That's a lot of speed. There's a lot of players who are going to make a name for themselves because they run fast, but can you catch the ball and get yards after the catch the way the great Jerry Rice did? That's the most important thing. You can be fast on the straightaway 40-yard dash, but can you break tackles in the NFL the way Jerry Rice was breaking tackles back in the day? And for me, he's a measuring stick on how well guys can do, how fast you run the 40-yard dash, or can you catch touchdown passes. Randy Moss would also go up and get it. He was fast. He was a burner. But all fair in love and war, and we'll just see what happens as they work out in the NFL. There's another thing, a tight end. There's talk about Gronk going over to Buffalo, but there's a tight end right now at the Combine and the NFL Combine. Austin Allen from Nebraska is the first of the Combine, and he posted a 4.79, but he's 6'7", so he can go up and get the ball. You can throw the ball up high and have him go up and get it. So 40-yard dash times, amazing, yes. We want to see guys that can run fast, yes. But are you football fast, like a Deebo Samuel, who runs about a 4.5, and he can get hit, oftentimes bounce off the hit, and take it away? Cooper Kupp's not the fastest guy in the league. He's maybe a 4.55 guy, maybe even 4.6. But he can get open. There's a lot of players who can get open. So when I see how guys run, it's just a lot about bragging. It's a lot about bragging how fast they are. But are you football fast? And I think that makes a big difference when it comes down to it. There's also some talk about Kenny Pickett, the quarterback out of Pittsburgh. He has small hands. What does that have to do with can a guy throw the football? Drew Brees didn't have the biggest hands in the NFL, but he's one of the top all-time passing yardage leaders also. Can you spin it or can you not spin it? We've seen players that were tall, big, tall quarterbacks. Maybe they didn't make the plays because they couldn't throw accurately, whatever it was. I think of the guy, Jimmy Johnson said it best way back in the day. He wants guys that can make plays, and oftentimes we get too caught up on how big some guy's feet or his hands are. All's fair in love and war. But I wish everybody nothing but the best. It's a dream come true for a lot of players to get their names out there in the paper or on the internet now. Who reads the paper anymore? But there's a lot of good people coming up into this NFL draft. Just keeping in mind, they get the chance to make their dreams come true. Doesn't matter what people in the media think. how fast your 40 is, how big and tall you are. What matters is can you make plays. If you watch the films on how these guys played in college, that tells you a lot about what you're going to get when they come to the NFL, not how fast they run up and down the football field at a timed 40-yard dash when they're running in tights and some track shoes. They're not running in a football helmet, and they're not running in shoulder pads and all the padding that they have that they're going to have in the game. All's fair in love and war. I do wish everybody nothing but the best. There should be some great NBA basketball games tonight. Can't wait to see what happens with the team, especially Golden State down in Dallas taking on the Dallas Mavericks. Also, you have Boston and Memphis, Ja Morant, Jason Tatum doing their thing. And then who's going to be the Kings of Los Angeles tonight? As the great singer one time said back in the day, Rod Stewart, tonight's the night. Back in the day, with a man by the name of Drew Houdini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. And he would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, you sting like a bee. Rumble, young man, rumble. With all you've got to use, how can you lose? Ali would say, I'm so pretty I can't possibly get beaten because all these big cheeseburgers make me light on my feet. That's why I'm always rumbling. And the Big C coffee makes me have to go to the bathroom a lot more than I should. That's why I'm always floating like a butterfly, stinging like a bee. Oh, man. My beautiful mother always says there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. If you know any man, woman, or child going through that garbage, pick up the phone and ask for help because no man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And that's always tell you on every Big City Sports Show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.